This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
Well, it may be hard to believe, but the new year is getting closer and closer. It is almost 2025. Thank you so much for joining us for Financial Insanity. Today, we're going to take a look at your finances. It's time to evaluate where am I at and where am I going? Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group, is here to help us out. I am Alex Dingman, the host of this fine show. And Scott, always an exciting time of year as you get to the end of the year and all the planning, but it's also a good time to review the past year as well as looking forward.
It is. It's Groundhog Day, baby. It keeps coming every year.
Right.
And boy, doesn't it come fast. I guess the older I am, the faster it comes. I don't know maybe I got to spend some more money, but it is a Groundhog Day. It's all over again. But I'm glad you must have popped your head in on my last appointment because we were actually talking about how do I plan for this. So I appreciate you stealing my listening to my appointment.
Yes, of course.
It's a great topic.
No, absolutely, Scott. And so What are some things to think about? You know, this time of year, as we're getting, late into the year, we have the holidays coming up, but when it comes to your money, when it comes to your plan, what are some things it's a good idea to take stock of?
Alex, the last person was just in here when you popped your head in and said, hurry up, Scott, we got to do the show. One thing was, number one, the family had two advisors, and those two advisors really never looked at the tax return. So number one, tax planning. Should you sell some bad stocks for some new stocks? How can you do some tax advantage moves in your portfolio? Now that we know the new president that is in the helm, I think that's important, tax planning, because they needed to pull money out. Their daughter's getting married. They needed to pull a significant amount of money out. I said, well, why don't we take some money this year? Let's take some money next year. Let's take money this year for some IRA accounts and a little bit from your non-IRA accounts because it's taxes long-term capital gains. And number two, let's take money out next year so you're not taxed higher, again, from the both non-qualified and qualified. Then we'll talk about budgeting. And I asked him, how much are you spending and what's going on? Do you need that much money? Where does the money go? Let's drill down. He had a variable annuity that was paying him a check. But the question I asked on the variable annuity was, if you die and the variable annuity runs out of money, will you be able to annuitize it for your spouse? And the bad thing was the answer is no. He didn't know that. And so the question is, she will lose this big lump sum. To them, it's big. To some of you listening, it's probably not. He's getting a check of $900 a month net after tax. But if he dies and he annuitizes it, if he lives and of course the money runs out in the annuity, he can annuitize it. But it's not for the joint beneficiary. So there's a lot of twists. So again, budgeting and again, goal setting. Maybe goals have changed. Maybe you're taking the trip. Maybe you're going on vacation. Maybe your lights are starting to twinkle. Maybe your lights are going dim. Maybe your spouse is not feeling that well. Should you be looking at maybe what is your goal for this next year and the couple of years now? Do you want to give money away? Should you do some spending? Should you give money to charity? Or maybe we need to do some challenges or changes in your legal documents because the family 2 days ago, Alex, I don't know if you heard me, but they have a special needs son and grandson, and the child popped out. It's 2 years old. They never brought it up before. And with their other advisors, I asked them, by the way, how's the kids and grandkids? They're a brand new client to us.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we have a child that's special needs. So that's important to understand. Maybe they need to change their will,
right,
and update it to a special needs trust. So there's a lot of stuff out there, Alex, as you think about the coming years, because procrastination is so easy. Because if you want that peace of mind and taking that in your mind, whether it's your legal, your taxes, your financial, it needs to be looked at in retrospect of what you're doing. So again, by the way, Alex, because of the new presidency, we're doing a workshop coming up.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
For those who are interested, and I don't know if you might have mentioned it before, December 9th, we're going to have 2 different workshops right at the, we're having like a little lunch and learn, little hors d'oeuvres and a couple cocktails. Because of the new president, we're going to say, okay, what is our game plan at McLean Advisory? How are we helping our financial clients? So this is for our financial clients. If they choose to bring a guest, if we have room, they're able to. But this is so important again. So your topic today is spot on, buddy.
Well,
great job.
Well, and Scott, it's the kind of thing I'm sure you would invite folks in if they want to look this time of year at their portfolio, if they want to check it out, see how diversified they are, check out the investments. But you and your team be happy to take a look. Maybe it's a second opinion, whatever it may be, but a great time of year for you to do that.
It is a great time, especially now we're able to plan when the new president gets kicked in the helm. And we can now use the new tax laws. We know what he's going to do. Hopefully they'll get passed. But now that we have the Senate and the House and they have majority rule, it seems like it's going to be we got wind at our back, buddy. Our sales are up and we need to make sure we are headed the right direction. My question to you out there is, are you headed in the right direction? Reducing taxes, increasing your portfolio, making sure you're, as Alex said, your investments are in the right place. The financial advisors use fancy word as asset allocation. I just like to make it simple. Is your investments in the right place to make the maximum return? And then finally, your legal documents. Maybe you need to dust them off and maybe they need updating. So that's what we do here as the 3 Blind Mice. We have our glasses on, not off. And I can tell you what a great topic, because if you're out there, this is a very important number you need to have. So you might want to think about writing this down. It's 609-488-4646. Again, that's 609-488-4666. You give us our studios a call. Maybe this is a place for you or maybe it's not. My job is to answer your question, not to sell you, but help you. 609-488-4646. You know, Alex, I'm going on my anniversary coming up, 43 years right around the corner. So I'm excited about doing this business another 43.
Oh, yeah. Well, and Scott, you know, you brought up the thing about the special needs trust and how that, you know, could be something that family you're helping with could, you know, take advantage of and use. And Scott, to me, I point that out because that is just a great example of just how nuanced all of this can be when it comes to finances, when it comes to retirement planning. There are just so many different avenues that you could go down. And so, Scott, that 43 years of experience doing this thing, I mean, hey, man, I'm proud of you for dating yourself. Some people, they wouldn't want to say that. But
I don't care.
You know, Scott,
I feel like I'm 20. Well, my body feels like it's 90.
And see, and that's the great, I don't know about the 90 part, but that's the great combination for you, Scott, is that you have the 40 years, but you have that youthful energy. You still love to learn. You still, you know, you're not somebody who's stuck in their ways. Well, I've been doing this for 3 decades this way. No, you look at the environment, you see the opportunities, you see the potential pitfalls, and you adjust accordingly. And so I just think that's an important note to make, that this is a comprehensive approach, no, Scott, that you take. And so, you know, as we're looking here, end of the year, we're looking at planning, you're going to look at it all. You're going to look at healthcare. You're going to look at taxes.
Oh, yeah. Very important.
You know, all that kind of stuff. So maybe speak to that and any other considerations that folks, you know, should be making here as we get late in the year.
Well, you bring up healthcare because some people maybe should look into an irrevocable trust to put their property or assets or house. So in the event their lights go dim and they have to go to a nursing home or they have to have in-home help. Well, if you put your house into an irrevocable trust, this is not for everybody. But how do you protect the assets? And a lot of people, that's one of the biggest assets, is their house is paid off. And that's the first place that they're going to put a lien against. So maybe that's kind of planning. Long-term care. I've read a lot of long-term care contracts. Most of them are pretty good in the past 20 years ago up to now. And of course, the premiums are going up because us old people they're getting older and they're being utilized now. So you're seeing rate increases. Is there other alternatives, which was the question today? And I said, yeah, there's like 4 other alternatives than the old contracts, but maybe you should keep what you have. So again, when you're looking at protecting your assets, long-term care, health care coverages, putting your house or your assets into an irrevocable job. Another question here. Think about this, Alex.
Yeah.
The person today said, Scotty, what do you think? I mentioned something about if my children is the power of attorney. Well, I said, go to the bank and make sure they have a copy of your power of attorney. Or if your bank has their own power of attorney, use the bank power of attorney. And I think this is so important because it makes it a smooth transition if your lights go dim and maybe your spouse is in charge and maybe her or his lights are dim, maybe the children or someone else is getting involved. But this is where people get stuck and they don't know what to do. They throw their hands up. They call their financial advisor. 9 times out of 10, he's going to say or she's going to say, call the lawyer. Well, if they had the legal documents, they know exactly what to do if they've done this. And I think this is such a missing part. And those of you listening right now, what would happen if you needed to have a game plan? Who are they going to call? Who are the kids going to call? Call Ghostbusters at 609-488-4646. We'll try to help you. I promise you that. 609-488-4646, and we'll make you feel right at home. I promise you that for sure. But the most important thing is, what is your game plan, as Alex said, as you plan for next year?
Well, absolutely, Scott. And real quickly here, a note I wanted to just make, because this time of year, Thanksgiving, Christmas, a lot of people, and it's great, they're thinking about giving. Charitable donations. Absolutely. And, not to get super in the details, but that's another area, Scott, where, you can help folks do this in a smart way that can set you up to be able to provide for others even, better in the future.
What a great way to do giving. We do give a lot. We have a lot of charities we support. And there's a great way if you have your required minimum distribution for those of you that are taking them now, or for those turning age 70. What a great way to give and get more back. I wrote a white paper. If you'd like to have a copy of that white paper, it's 609-488-4646. I wrote it for a church at Bayside Chapel I go to. And I wrote it because you could actually give money to charity if you're tithing or whatever, and to your foundation, and you could take it out of your IRAs and not pay tax, give it to them, and it satisfies required minimum distribution. In addition to that, it's such a way for those of you who want to give maybe money to your kids. There's a rule out there called 709. It's a tax form where you could actually give your kids more than the $17,000. Maybe you have a lot of money. Maybe you'd like to bless the children with some money. Maybe you want to see them enjoy the money and you're worried about, all I can give them is what the law says is $10,000. Well, first of all, that's many years ago. Now it's like $17,000, but it actually more than that based on the estate planning rules. You can give them, heck, for those of you that have a lot of money, you can give it, and you're married, you can give them $23 million and not have an inheritance or state tax. A beautiful way to give. This is why people give us a call at studios, or when they come in, we talk about their planning at 609-488-4646. Why? Because it's another area that the financial guys are looking, gals out there, they say, what can I get from you, not what can I give? And I think it's better to give than receive. How can I give you more advice than you could ever have? So when you walk out of the office, you say, holy mackerel, it was so great to meet with the firm, McLean Advisory Group.
Nope, I love that. 609-488-4646. Just add a .com for the website. When we come back, we're going to be looking at retirement risks that you're going to want to avoid. This is Financial Insanity.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
Get all this stuff and you try to put it away like these hoarders on TV. It has an emotional attachment.
So, Scott, you're saying I don't have to keep every single drawing that my son has done? You're saying I could throw some of that away?
The answer is yes. You can take a picture, then throw it out.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
When planning for retirement, are you confident you're not making any mistakes? Would you like to know more now so you don't have a painful lesson in the future? Of course, right? Well, good thing you're joining us today on Financial Insanity, because throughout the years, Scott McLean and his great team at McLean Advisory Group has identified 5 common mistakes people often make before they enter retirement. And so you're going to want to listen today. And the first one, Scott, first common mistake is, well, pretty simple. You don't have a fully mapped out retirement strategy.
Nothing. So many times, and we have a unique process. If anybody would like to get it from us, please feel free to ask for Bonnie at 609-488-4646. I have a unique email I can send you as you try to map out your strategies. And I actually have it really laid out as you put your budget together. This is not a do-it-over plan. This is not let's test it out plan. I mean, if you made a couple critical mistakes, it could really affect the quality of retirement. So again, as you map out the retirement, what does it look like, feel like, how much we saving, how much we spending? And this is number one, problem number one. If you're forced into retirement, that's okay. I understand. As we talked about in an earlier segment, we spoke about, Alex, about long-term care.
Yeah.
If you're forced into it because you're taking care of your grandson, or maybe your wife has to, or your husband has to take off work to take care of their beautiful spouse. Sometimes we're forced in these situations. Okay, what does that look like? Seek help, and let's do a map out a plan, because this is not a do-it-yourself gimmick. You go to the place where people have gone through this challenge before and seek help, because it's not only where does the money come from, it's how much tax am I going to have to pay? It's will I run out of money before I run out of life?
Yep. You got to look at everything, and that's what we mean by a fully mapped out retirement strategy. It's hard to look at everything if you don't know everywhere to look, and that's where somebody like Scott McLean can really help out at McLean Advisory Group. All right. Second common mistake people make before retiring is, well, you're living beyond your means, contributing little or nothing to the savings you'll need after your paychecks stop. You don't want to do that.
No, and if you're out there and you're about to retire or plan on retiring, maybe your favorite sport is, let's say, bowling. Maybe you get a job at a bowling alley and have a little extra income coming in. After you do, plan one, figure out what your budget is. Number two, are you spending too much? When the grandbabies start to pop out of the oven and you start visiting them, maybe go to the thrift store versus the Lehman Marcus store. Maybe you get a little bit more frugal, because again, burning your cash could be tremendously burden to your retirement. And then of course it could affect you if you have a good long life. Maybe you don't want to have cat food when you're 80 years old. So be very, very cautious and be diligent on how much you're spending, because you can spend beyond your means. Plus, you got kids knocking on the door. Dad, Mom, can I get some money? I can't pay my mortgage. Mom, Dad, I'm going through a divorce. Can you help me? I need some money. Mom, Dad, I'd surely like my son to have special football shoes. Can you help me? And I'm not saying any of those are bad, but the question is, when the door starts knocking, thinking about how your retirement could start knocking.
Yep. And it's that dirty B word. And no, not that one, but the other dirty B word, budget. And, it's that old adage, you got to pay yourself first. And this is that situation where you got to make sure that you're putting that money in for when those paychecks that you currently have stop. And like you said, you can have some part-time work, but you're not going to want to work just as much for retirement, because that's not retirement. So how do you replace those paychecks? And that's the kind of thing Scott McLean, his team at McLean Advisory Group, can help with. That number is always 609 488-4646, going over some common mistakes people make before entering retirement, trying to help you get ahead of these things. The first one we talked about, not having a fully mapped out retirement strategy. And the second one is living beyond your means, not contributing enough to the savings you're going to need after those paychecks stop. So the third common mistake, Scott, is that, well, you're under the impression that you're going to be healthy forever. And therefore, you're ignoring the cost of health care in retirement. And you can hear from Scott that this is not going to be the case. You're not going to be healthy forever. And there's, like we mentioned, long-term care before, just health care in general. These are things, again, you got to budget for.
You do. And if there's a lot of tools out there, but I can tell you, if you have an HSA, please jump on that. As long as it's not the use it or lose it plan, you need to find out about that. Great place to really pack away money, especially if those are heading into retirement. If you can really start plowing money away into an HSA. If not, start plowing your money, maybe if you can, into an IRA. If your spouse is not working, maybe plow your money into an IRA Roth as a spousal Roth plan if one of you are still working. So again, think about the money as you're having it in there. And if in case you need it, where do you pull it from and how the tax implication will happen? Because the third mistake is, again, we're all going to stay healthy. And God, we know, I take tons of vitamins. I want to stay healthy. But as Alex knows, we all get hurt, get injured, things happen. And when they happen, you feel like a $6 million man, then you're being a 2-cent man because you kind of sit in your bed saying, I can't get out. I can't do this. I can't do what I used to do. Please pay attention, look at the dollars, and again, watch out how much you spend. The part number 2 we just spoke about. Again, you're very important to pay attention to that, your health, and get it. Yeah. And you know what? Work out. Go to the gym. That's probably the best thing for most everybody listening right now. Get your butt to the gym, work out, do the treadmill, do something, at least 45 minutes a day, do some kind of cardio work.
Yeah, you could walk to go visit Scott McLean and his team at McLean Advisory Group if you would like, right here in Waretown. He'll help you with those.
Buy Dunkin' Donuts on the way.
Yeah, there you go. Why not? I'm sure Scott would take something for you.
Absolutely.
Not necessary, but he'll take it. Again, that number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And we're going through these common mistakes people make before entering retirement. And really one of the big points is just, Scott, you've seen this stuff. I mean, you haven't seen it all. There's something new every day, but you've seen a lot. You've seen a lot of different situations and different things that have worked for different kinds of people and in different situations at different times and things that people have forgotten. And so these mistakes, you go through them in your head, you're thinking, yep, I can think of a couple times that somebody maybe was doing this. And so this is where having someone like you can step in and just take a realistic look at things. It's like, yeah, you think you're going to live forever, or you want to keep spending as much money as you want right now without thinking about the future. And Scott's somebody that can sit down and say, hey, let's just go ahead and go over this. Let's really be realistic about this, because at the end of the day, you're going to feel better about things if you know that things have been addressed and that you have a plan.
There's no doubt. You don't want to, again, like I say, you want to help the kids out, the family out, give money away. And the question is, you're not paying attention to maybe you're going to live a good long life, and will you have enough money versus not having enough money and too much life left over.
Yeah. Well,
you got inflation, Alex. You got inflation coming up too. That's another person we can talk about.
That is absolutely true. And that's why it's almost kind of silly when I say you got to have a plan, because you do have to have a plan, but part of that plan has to be those things you can't plan for. You got to have those funds and those strategies for when stuff is going to hit the fan, or when something unheard of is going to happen.
I mean, these old folks listen to me right now. You're same age as me, probably out there for sure. Probably I'm a little older. But you think about rapid inflation we saw in the 82 to 90, where we saw interest rates just scream. It just went up. Now, we just saw it just screams past year and a half faster on a short-term period than we did in 82 to 90. And so we saw that scream so rapidly. And I just spoke to someone today. That's why their bond account dropped so rapidly. They thought, Scott, I thought bonds were safe. I said, did the advisor keep you in the bond account? They said, yes. I said, that's a shame, because it's when you see rapid inflation, you don't want to be in these sort of tools that could really evaporate your money, and bonds will go down even though you thought they were safe. Again, how do you fight for inflation? Are you putting enough away? And I think this is a big misnomer. Hey, by the way, Mom and Dad, are you out there? Hey, Grandpa, Grandma. I think about this because I'm a grandpa as well. You think about this. If you could teach your kids one simple rule, Alex, this is for you too, and all you young studettes down there or studs out there, 10% of your income. So if you're making $300 a week, $30. You're making $3,000 a week, $300. 10% of your income should be put away for your retirement. And so if you're doing that, but if your wife is working or spouse is working, again, 10% of their income, this is a very easy formula. I can tell you most people don't do it, or they do it and they end up putting their hand in the cookie jar and yanking it out later. If you could just drill this into the kids, 10% every time you get paid, I can tell you, you will be so far ahead. If you do what other people won't do, you'll have what other people won't have. I promise you, do it. 10%. Use that number.
And that number for Scott and his team at McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646, ada.com for the website. As we're going through 5 common mistakes people often make before they enter retirement, we have 2 more on the other side.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Can we really live the go-go years, or am I going to scrimp and save and stay at home and watch TV, watch Bob Barker? I don't know.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
We are using Scott and his team's decades of experience to identify 5 common mistakes people often make before they hit retirement. Last segment, we went over not having a fully mapped out retirement strategy, living beyond your means, and ignoring healthcare costs in retirement. We'll go back through those real quickly again, but we want to get to the next 2. And the 4th common mistake, Scott, is you aren't saving enough to account for inflation. You mentioned this briefly, but that's a big one.
So we spoke about the very basic rules for the younger people, and of course older people as well. Use the rule of the 10% rule. But if we know inflation's up to 6%, well, can you add? Is it possible? And I don't want to be dictating on the radio saying it's possible, because when inflation takes off, it's hard to save money. But if you can actually put in a little extra percentage away just to keep up with inflation, if the boss gives you a raise, can you say, great, let's go ahead and put that full raise into my savings account, my 401k, my 403b, my Roth IRA? Can I put that away? Or maybe some of you just into a liquid cash account. Where do we put that money? I was just looking at some accounts today, and I've just noticed today, speaking to you guys, there's some accounts out there paying 6.15% guaranteed for 5 years. I've never seen it this high. I'm not trying to sell you on you guys listening to me. I'm telling you, I was excited to see that, because I know people want safe money, no fees, no expense, $6,150 on every $100,000. In other words, that's almost like, what, $500 you could put in your pocket just for every single period you want. You just want to take some money out. $6,000 you could grow on that guaranteed bucket. So again, there's some safe places to put money out there. How do you take it out? Is it taxable or non-taxable? But again, you've got to put it away. So inflation. And then you've got to really buckle down and just be a real savvy shopper and look at how you can buy, or can you put off things, or can you reduce your expenses if you're really, really, really hurting for cash, because this is so important. But it will end. Inflation will go, schools change. It's just how are you getting through it now?
Yeah. Well, and you said something really smart too, and this goes for anybody, but something happens where, okay, a windfall, or you're going to consistently be getting more money now, and you just put that money away, and you keep living as you were living before under the same budget. And that extra money, that's the stuff that, okay, you are already saving for retirement and you had a savings. Well, in that savings now, it's accounting for inflation also because of the extra money you're able to put in. And so I just think that's really wise as well, giving people the green light to say, hey, you get that raise or you get that other stream of income coming in, and you just keep your budget the same and you put that extra money aside because you are going to need it in the future. It is going to happen.
Sneaks up on all of us for sure. Everyone. I don't care if, by the way, if you're thinking, well, that's easy to say if you're rich and wealthy. Let me tell you something. They scrimp and save money just like you. They're budgeting money. They're watching their dollars. When COVID hit, they didn't go out and buy fancy rings and Rolexes and stuff. They were watching their money. When the market took a drop, 2 different drops in 2000 to 2003, 50% drop, 2007 to 2009, almost a 60% drop. You tell me the wealthy wasn't concerned? Well, everyone was concerned. And if we have another stock market tremendous challenge, this is why people are calling us and meeting with us, because there could be something down the line, let alone with inflation, but let alone being sick and disabled, let alone the 5 common mistakes people have, spending too much money. But the question is, are you really paying attention to what's going on? If not, get an advisor who's really in the know.
And the number for Scott and his team at McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. As Scott and his team have identified 5 common mistakes people often make before they enter retirement. The final common retirement planning mistake: you haven't planned for the possibility of long-term care. We're going back to something we mentioned earlier, but we want to put a bow on the thought because it is important. It can't be overlooked. And it's something we mentioned earlier, that those that are turning 65 right now, over half of them are going to need long-term care in the future.
You know, I haven't said this in the last show, and I apologize to our veterans and to our spouses of veterans during wartime. It doesn't mean your spouse was in, let's say, Vietnam, Afghanistan. They could be here stateside, but they qualify for benefits. And there's some very unique benefits if you're listening to me now, whether you're World War II, still around, Korea, Vietnam, and you think Gulf, and all these different wars that came out, the veterans have a very unique plan. If you have a question, you're a veteran out there, I can guide you in the areas of, could there be some benefits for you or your spouse if you serve during these times? They call the aid and attendance pension benefit. And I can tell you, people overlook that, especially financial planners don't really ask those questions, which we do, because we want to help our vets and we want you to get the most out of it. The second thing we think about on top of that long-term care is, again, maybe you're guiding your mom and dad, and maybe you're taking care of them. Maybe they moved into your house. How are you entering them on the tax returns? This is kind of off the color. We talk about benefits, but this could be a benefit. How are you taking care of them? Is there any deductions? How are you keeping records of taking care of your mom and dad? Maybe it's your husband, your wife, your children, your grandchildren. So you want to look at all the different areas, again, of where to get the money. How do I pull the money out if I need the money? Am I saving enough money in case something does happen? And then again, how does it look in the big picture? How do I protect my money? And so that would go into the legal aspects of trust planning. So as we look at the 3D process, our 3D planning process, the dreams, keeping your money together, the dollars, how they're going to last, and then the dynasty, how does it pass it on? how can we look at all three areas with these 3D glasses? So when we talk about it, this will help you when you put your head on the pillow, think, you know what? I think I'm buttoned up pretty good. Let's just double check. Let's meet with Scott.
Yep.
609-488-4646. Please, this is a time not to play as we head into a new year. This is a great time to plan. And again, 609-488-4646. No cost, no obligation. If you've got questions, I can tell you I'll get the answer. And if I don't have the answer, I will find the answer. I'm pretty good at this, but if I don't have an answer off the cuff, I will get the answer. I've known tons of people, and I can tell you that it's nothing worse than having a question unanswered.
Absolutely. And today we went over 5 common mistakes people often make before retirement. To recap, the first mistake, not having a fully mapped out retirement strategy. If you don't feel like you've addressed everything, now's the time to get with Scott. Or if you're just not even sure, then check in with the team at McLean Advisory Group. What about living beyond your means so you're not saving enough for when you get into retirement? This is a big one. If you need help budgeting, again, Scott and his team can help out. You also don't want to ignore health care costs in retirement. This is big, as we all think that we're bulletproof, or maybe we just don't quite understand what it's going to look like and how we're going to pay for health care in retirement. It's all part of that all-encompassing, comprehensive strategy. You got to look at that. Another mistake, not saving enough to account for inflation. We've definitely seen that one rear its ugly head, and it'll happen again in the future. Got to make sure you're setting some funds aside for that. And then the 5th common mistake, not planning for the possibility of long-term care. So we talked about healthcare costs, but you have that, and that's different than, well, you might have an extended stay or extended care treatment that is needed for you or a loved one, and you definitely got to look at that. But this is all something that has to do with stuff that you can look at to make sure that you're really looking at everything, that 3D approach that you talk about. That's why it's so important to come in and get guidance from somebody like Scott. That number again, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646, add.com for the website. Well, good stuff. Scott, real quick, how does a salad say grace?
Wow, how?
Let us pray. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. And when we come up, we're going to hear about somebody else in the area who's helping folks. We're going to hear from Robert Brown, who's going to talk about some benefits that you might not know you have.
Oh, that's great.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
How much cash are we going to burn, and will you be out of money? And will the cat food train start to come alive? And that's where the rubber meets the road.
Great cat impersonation, by the way, Scott. That was spot on.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group.
McLean Advisory Group is so thankful for our veterans and the sacrifices they've made over the years. We're going to talk today about some programs aiming to help these great veterans with daily activities, medical expenses, and more.
Financial insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity. I'm Alex Dingman, alongside, as always, Scott McLean.
That's
and
right.
Today, we have a good friend of his, Robert Brown, retired Navy veteran for over 20 years. He was a chief petty officer for the Persian Gulf, and now Veterans Service Officer helping folks. Robert, thank you so much for serving this great country and for continuing to help folks find those great benefits.
My pleasure.
That is awesome. And Scott, I know you guys have quite the history, and you like each other a little bit. You work together, you like each other, and that's a good mix, right, Scott?
Once in a while.
It is a good mix. His wife's beautiful family, took his family out on the boat. We just had some fun together. So the neatest thing is how it started as we were helping our veterans. I took a class, as I mentioned in our previous show, about the aid and attendance pension benefit, which that benefit, for whether you're in a nursing home or you're at home, I mean, that benefit is really, really beneficial. My daddy was served in Korea. My grandfather served in World War II, and I am a 4F, not a Dodger. I'm a 4F. In other words, I didn't qualify because of surgeries on my body before when I tried to go in, but that was a rule in the McLean house. But notwithstanding, the aid and attendance benefit on our previous show talked about, could you get benefits whether you're at home or not because you're sick or disabled, or maybe you need to go into the facility like Vineland, Paramus, Manilow Park. There's great facility. One of the best ones, I believe, in New Jersey is Vineland. But this program today, we spoke about that as a previous program, but this program today is for our veterans that serve. And there's two types of benefits, the two types of benefits that Robert is very well of. And Robert is 100% disabled veteran benefit, not because he's ugly and I'm better looking, but because he's actually, this is not textbook, this is real world. And of course, the lawyer in our office also is 100% disabled benefit, getting these wonderful benefits. There's a connected benefit, service connected benefit, and there's a non-service connected benefit. And Robert, if we looked at the service connected versus non-service, we talk about the aid and attendance benefit, which is a wonderful benefit for those of you or your parents. You need to know about it. You need to ask us. And by the way, if you don't know about that, the number is 609-488-4646. Please feel free to give our studios a call if you have any questions. We'll get you in touch with Robert or someone that can handle your calls. If I'm busy, I don't want to miss your call. 609-488-4646. But Alex, we're talking about this connected benefits. Rob, there's two types of benefits. Let's give a summary of the this other benefit we talk about. Well, you see on TV all the time this benefit down in Camp Lejeune. We've been doing this thing for how many years, Robert? Since 2008.
Sure, a long time.
And I have one of our gentlemen in our church who has spina bifida, which comes from the water, Camp Lejeune, and he, as child of a veteran, didn't know he qualified. And when I mentioned to him, he says, "I don't believe it." And so, of course, now he believes it. Robert, there's a lot of benefits. Let's go ahead and break it down as quick as you can.
Sure.
As we think about this great benefit.
Okay. So generally the way this works is if you wore a uniform for some period of time, however long that was, and you got injured doing anything, it could have been your hand, your finger, your eye, your leg, your knee, what have you, and that's recorded somewhere in your medical record, then you report that. The big question to the VA before they'll pay you any compensation, this is the term, it's not a pension. This form is called a compensation. Before they pay you any compensation of money, they have to figure out, did this happen while you're in uniform, while you were active duty, or did it not? So if you were out of service and discharged and you got in a car accident, it's, quote, a non-service connected issue, and the VA will not pay that. So it had to have happened or started or at least exacerbated while you were in the service in a uniform. So is this a service connected benefit? That's what has to be determined first. And the VA does a process to figure that out. Once that's done, they say, okay, here's your problem. I understand. I'm going to send you to a third-party adjudicator to figure out, to confirm the severity of that problem, if it's hearing, again, if it's a broken leg, what have you, and where do we go from there? Is it a recurring problem, or is it a problem that's been fixed and now you're 100% better? Again, no compensation. But if there's still an existing issue, then the VA will pay this compensation of a certain percentage, equating to a certain amount of dollars every single month, again, tax-free.
In our place in Florida, we have an Ocala farm, and we have an equestrian center down there. We're behind there, the World Equestrian Center. We have one of our gentlemen who takes care of our property down there, and he is a veteran. He was in Afghanistan. He went through some real challenges and he wasn't sure about the benefits. I said, Robert, do me a favor and give my friend, we won't say his name, but give my friend a call. I think he qualifies for benefits. He was not getting 100%, and he did connect it. He's been through a lot of challenges. I won't go deep, but some of you listening right now, maybe you have been in some deep challenges and you're afraid to apply because you saw your buddies got damaged or hurt in the war, but you didn't, and therefore you think you shouldn't apply because you don't deserve it.
Downplaying the issue. You think other people deserve it, but you are just as eligible from a wartime vet versus a service-connected vet. Two different situations.
And Robert and I see this all the time, and I see these veterans as I'm doing the financial planning, and I ask the question, what went on? And when I see their eyes glaze over, they don't want to talk about it, I wait to get alone with them, or I have Robert call them because a vet to a vet will talk versus I'm a non-vet, even though I know this program very well. They would rather speak to somebody who's been in the muck, who's been in the trenches, who's gone through this war problem. And of course, I tell Robert, do me a favor, call maybe you. If your spouse, if you're on there and your wife or your husband's on there and you've seen your spouse go through this, give us a call and maybe Robert can help you say some words where maybe your husband or your wife, the veteran, would like to get help, but they're afraid to get help. And I can't tell you, when I was developing another program with Columbia University, which is with the horses, if you'll see War Horses with Earl Mack, we were developing that program until COVID hit. I can tell you this is a tremendous benefit for PTSD as well. Robert can be very helpful. 609-488-4646. Again, please don't put yourself on the shelf.
Yeah.
Come off the shelf. Come off the, well, I don't need to apply. I'm tough. Well, I'm doing that now with my hurt knee. I walk around tough because I know I got to get surgery. But this is something you don't want to put off because as you get older, more issues start to crop up, Robert. Is that right?
Oh, they do. They increase over the time, multiple times. And then had you not explored that issue, now you're putting it off. And the commencement begins when you start your application. You cannot get any retroactive money, but only moving forward once the application is put in. So don't hesitate. Talk to us. Get a hold of us. We'll figure out where do we navigate the waters from there, sailor speaking.
Once the application is put in. So thinking about it doesn't start it. Just filling out the form doesn't start it. You actually have to submit it.
Yeah,
that's correct.
And
that's
Scott, you've been helping people with their finances for over 40 years, but also very importantly, since 2008, you've been specifically helping people with their benefits if they're veterans, as you opened up the Veterans Benefit Advisory Group back in 2008. And we're talking today with Robert Brown, retired Navy Chief Petty Officer, served for 20 years, and now is a Veterans Service Officer. And guys, we have a few minutes left, and I know we're talking about some known benefits, some unknown benefits. What maybe are some other benefits or opportunities for folks that people should know about?
Well, there's a number of them. Some of them are, if you wanted dental care, you can get that. Not necessarily a particular benefit, but a benefit from having served. If you had dental issues, you can apply for a certificate of eligibility for a home loan. There are burial benefits that many people don't know about, as far as funeral services, costs incurred, the veterans cemetery, the plot, the grave marker, some of those. There's a spousal benefit that you can get for the spouses of the veteran who passed away. Again, a monthly basis for payment of that. Surviving spouse benefit, they called. Or there's dependent education benefits for the children of some of those veterans. For example, my daughter is going to Stockton University as a, quote, cut rate because the VA pays part of her education based upon my disability. So she's the recipient of my service and gets those benefits for her college education. So spouse dependent education benefits there. My wife could go to school if she would choose to because of the disability status that I'm at. And again, all of this is a monthly benefit, non-taxable. You don't talk about it to the accountants.
And Robert, I want to interject real quick because I think it's very important. The number 609-488-4646. But the point that this is great information for veterans, but also veterans' families as well. That's something for folks that are listening out there. There's opportunities for the families of veterans also. Again, that number is 609-488-4646. Robert, Scott, please continue. Got a couple moments left here. Very important stuff.
Couple things that hit my mind that I don't think we brought up. I can't find my dad's records. I can't find the DD 214. I don't know what to do. Robert, what do they do? Because this is a reason not to follow up because you don't know what to do. B, a reason to put it off and maybe I'll get to it later. It's almost like putting your Christmas tree up on December 24th because you don't have any money. Well, that's what I did when I was broke. But this is different. This is a benefit for life. Robert, I can't find the records. What do we do?
Okay, so to answer that really is talk to me. All right, tell me what you know and tell me what you don't know. And I say that because if you don't know how to get your record, and again, this could be the military discharge document, DD 214, or the War Department, the WD document, or it could be I don't have medical records from when I was in. I was in Agent Orange, and when we got discharged, we just sent us home, and I wanted to get out of the Vietnam, so I just left. I never got my records, my medical records, to prove any of my disability. So we could start from there. The answer is come and talk to us. I know exactly where we submit to. I know the documents to submit for. We just do a couple documents, submit it, it comes in the mail, and we begin. So if you don't have documents, that's okay. We'll get them. And it's as simple as that. We know where to lead everyone to get this benefit. You start with that. You need the foundation. Then we proceed forward with an application and submission.
I think the worst thing I find out with veterans, being in this business now 40 plus years, my dad did pass away within 5 days when he had leukemia. Mom passed away in 3 months, and we never went for the benefit. I frankly never knew about this benefit until I was invited to school. I thought there was a scam, and they said, well, you pay $2,500, come to our school, learn about these benefits. I really honestly thought it was a scam. Dave Conley, one of our attorneys that we work with on estate planning, said, Scotty, what's $2,500 when you can help vets? And he always calls me a draft dodger, even though I wasn't, because I was 4F'd.
Yeah, the good friends give you the hardest time. That's for sure.
They do. They are. We've been together since 1984, Dave Conley and I. And the funniest thing, the wonderful most thing is I did go to school and I said, holy mackerel, every financial advisor should be asking the question, are you a veteran? Was your husband or wife a veteran? Maybe they passed away. Was your mom and dad a veteran? This is part of the estate planning process, Alex. As I meet with people, I'm asking lots of questions. They're asking, why are you asking these questions? Because I'm looking for benefits they are totally unaware of. I'm looking to reduce taxes, the best benefit. I'm looking to make their life much more pleasant. So when they retire, they don't worry about running out of money. They enjoy their lifestyle. And that's why I added this veterans benefit in there, because they didn't take me, Alex. And I felt guilty because that's the whole thing in the McLeans. All the McLeans have to join. That was the rule. And they didn't take me. And I frankly was scared to call my dad, saying they turned me down. They 4F'd me.
Sure.
But the moment I told him, I applied to every single facility, whether the Army, Navy, Marines, which I went for first. Every one of them turned me down. I didn't know they shared records. And then all of a sudden, I was afraid to call my dad. When I called him, he said, okay, son, no big deal. I thought I was going to get drilled down, because his goal and the family was to drill down people to find out the best way possible. Now, Robert, as we close on this subject, as a veteran, you've seen people apply, you've seen people get denied. And then they say, well, I applied, I did it myself, and I didn't get approved. And because they didn't get help. What do you say?
Well, first of all, I say you may not have completed every single document in every single line entry that the VA wants. So they don't explain the discrepancy on your document. They just send it back and say, sorry, not approved. So it becomes very important to know exactly what forms to fill out, exactly where to sign, how to answer the questions in order to get approved at the VA level. And based upon expertise here, that's how you get it through. We've had one claim who got approved, and Scott could verify, from start to finish in 10 days.
That was a miracle, though. That was
10 days.
Don't expect
Phenomenal.
that, guys. This was a miracle. I told you very clearly, but that was wonderful.
It was.
Well,
She started coming in. The wife came in. The husband's like,
A Marine Corps vet.
A Marine Corps vet. His noodles went south. He was getting flashbacks. He came in. She was crying, didn't know what to do. They were burning cash. They were going to the nursing home. She came in from hearing me from other people. She came in within, And I will tell you this, I don't know how it happened so quick. I've never seen it, but it is out there. It is real as long as you do it correct, guys.
Yep.
Alex?
Yep. Thank you.
And you need some guidance. And that's really what we're out here for. We're to guide you to where you need to be based upon your service and your commitment in military.
Thank you.
And that's where it is. And again, serving vets is ideal and in my heart every single day.
Thank you so much for that. Great way to close. And again, if you need help, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Great guest today, Veteran Service Officer Robert Brown. Robert, again, thank you for being a guest today. More importantly, thank you for serving our nation.
You're welcome.
Thanks, buddy.
Scott opened up the Veterans Benefit Advisory Group in 2008 to help veterans and their families, guiding them to these important benefits. Again, that number, 609-488-4646. The number for Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. And again, a special salute and thank you to all of our veterans.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory